talking about modern architecture. But what is modern architecture? That's the crucial question. But I can't tell you what modern architecture is about. I can tell you what tropical architecture is about. So I hope in the slides I have prepared for you, it traces my journey. Architecture is a journey. You start the journey when you graduate and you design the first building. Thereafter, every step you take forward is part of the journey. And I hope I will share this with you. And of course, the architectural profession is never a very calm, sedate profession. It's a profession that you go up, you come down, up again, and then you go. So it's an up-down profession. You're up when you design something that's very well. You're down when you just lost a project. Or you're trying to see the project is not paid. So you're very down. So to be an architect, you've got to be tough. And very important, you've got to be a fighter. And you go out there and fight. In a gentleman manner, professional manner, and take your dignity and your respect. I always regard architectural profession as a noble profession. Noble is because when you practice architecture honestly, truthfully, you're always doing something honorable. Honorable to humanity, honorable to the environment, honorable to the material use, honorable with the history of the environment you are in. And in our case, honor topics, understand our topics, love our topics, and showcase our topics. That's what's very important. So actually, as I go along, if any of you want to ask any question, please feel free to stop me and say, oh, I have a question. I'll answer you. Because if you don't ask the question, you forget it. At the end of the talk, nobody remembers. So stop me, okay? I will get upset. Now, why I say you're going to be tough in architecture is you must have a conviction. You believe in something, you believe in your work, and you do it. Doesn't matter whether people think you are right or wrong. If you believe in it, you do it. The rest is inconsequential, not important. What's more important, what you have to do and what you believe in. That is we call professionalism. Okay? So I'll start with the first slide. Please. This slide has got nothing to do with architecture. Yeah, but it has got everything to do with everything, everybody. This is the advertisement of MasterCard. Credit card, no more thing. This was made about 40 years ago. So, what does it say? It says that for me, architecture is important about heritage besides being functional. Functional is only one aspect. Heritage and function. So that's what it is. Okay, the next slide, please. Can you activate? Appear on television all over the world.
Australian-trained master architect Jimmy Lin values past traditions. He also values MasterCard, with over 150 million cards honoured by over 8 million establishments. It's the world's most widely accepted card. The Master.
That we can use the sound. Oh, yeah.
Good architecture isn't just functional, it's responsive to its surrounding environment and heritage. Malaysian born, Australian trained master architect Jimmy Lin values past traditions. He also values MasterCard, with over 150 million cards honoured by over 8 million establishments. It's the world's most widely accepted card. The Master.
Now, this advertisement was made in 1988. So it's almost 40 years ago. MasterCard is a global MasterCard, international, and I wonder, have you ever seen any other Asian featured in this advertisement? I don't think so. But of course, you have seen Roger, but English like Norman Foster, all those people, you know, you've seen that. These people. You know, you have a Malaysian architect appearing in an international MasterCard 40 years ago. And you know, 40 years ago, all the architects in all Malaysia were very, very angry for appearing in the market. So that is the danger of being an architect, when you are too open and you see what you believe in and do it. We can have a discussion about this next. Can ask me any question. Okay, now we will see.
Yeah.
So, good, now. And when you have things in architect, you must put as a definition, three quarters. You must have a sense of responsibility, a sense of diligence, and a sense of urgency. You think about it. Well, most architects say, yes, I'm very responsible. Right? Not responsible. Fine. Now, then we ask the question of diligence. When you take a client's brief, you need to take the brief diligently, what you want the client wants, and deliver to the client.
Recording.
This is a habit which most architects develop when they're a student. Because when they're given a design project every semester, they never design diligently. They just say, oh, like that. No, you know. That's not the way to go. So they cultivate their habit. So practice all the things. Then we take the sense of urgency. How many of you remember when you were in uni, when the submission date and time comes, someone wrote AR wrong. But they are architect, but I don't know why they call AR instead of architect wrong. Because when you are sick, you go and see PR. I go and see PR.
It's a driver. No, but you say, but the one you don't call PR. So why architect called AR? This is something again I don't understand. All Malaysian students they call AR. As soon as you lecture AR, that AR. So you always say, can we extend our submission date? Always ask for that. Now that shows you got no sense of urgency. You don't know how to manage time. So very important. I think these are the three fundamental qualities an architect must have in order to proceed. And every step you take is a progression. And every step is improving your outlook. Next, please. Now, my architectural philosophy is very simple. I practice the architecture of humility. The screen doesn't show it because it's blocked off. Architecture of humility is very important because unless you are humble, you are not able to look at things and understand things. Because when you are not humble, you know everything, but in actual fact, you don't. So I practice architectural humility and then follow by the Tai Chi of architecture. You're humble, you're architect, then you engage in architecture, Tai Chi. Now, you got to be humble to understand people. I ask a lot of architects, what's architecture about? Oh, space, design, all this stuff, that, everything. Architecture is about people. People. We design for people, not for profit, not for whatever it is. When you're doing work for developers, you always say, hey, can you reduce the size of your unit down from 900 square feet down to 85, 850, things like that. Because they are looking at the bottom line, the profit. See, as architect, I'm not interested in profit. That's your profit. I'm to design, create things for the people. So we must always design space for people and use. People must know our history, the nature, the family, the environment, the hills, the trees, rivers, and the cities. And then culture, our culture, artisans and the craftsmen who are there to make our design into reality, the materials, our climate, the feng shui, and also to search for the essence of your site. You see, this is where, as an architect, you must have this sensitivity to the environment. You must go to the site and walk at the site. You see, nowadays, developers will come and tell, hey, I got this piece of land. How many hectares? Can you please design that? Okay, okay, no problem. They start design not without even going to the site. How can you do that? But that's what a lot of designers do. You see, we are very sensitive. We have to go to the site and feel the energy. Architecture has a very strong degree of spiritualism, if you guys don't realize that. The environment and so forth. Then, only then, you understand the site, and then you can, feel what the site wants. It tells you what it is. You look at the site, you look at the fall, you look at the sunrise, the sunset, which direction you're going to come. That's humility. You go there, you understand everything, and then, based on that, next slide, please. You engage in the Tai Chi of architecture. Now, I've got a picture of this two sumo wrestlers. Now, the sumo, this guy, there are two big bullfrogs. Then, when the guys saw the graphic, they come boom together. And then, of course, one of them will probably crash, and they smash each other. Two major forces coming together in a collision. Can you imagine the impact, the smashing of the flesh to the center? Boom, maybe some people get excited now. So, but to me, that's waste of energy. So we understand humility, then we talk about the synthesizing the issues and the problem. We analyze. We consider the problem and the options. We consider the variables. Have a watertight design brief. Understand the issues and the needs absolutely. Then, when you understood this, the secret of the circulation of your design suddenly appears. And that's what it is, the secret. And having studied the land formation and all that, then you engage the spirituality of the site with the needs of your client. And that's how you come up with a solution. That is what I call Tai Chi. In Tai Chi, you use the energy of all the elements to give you the solution. That means you don't confront. You see the energy coming, you just sidestep, you bring the energy over, and that's it. Just like, you watch those cowboys, riding horses in the rodeo. Oh, the horse comes on charging, and you saw the sidestep, grab the horse, then jumps onto the horse, and then let the horse go, and then he let go. Then the horse comes down. Then he takes the horse up the slope of the hill, that's off, sent by the river, and then he takes his Marlboro cigarette and everything. Right? No, that's an advertisement. So you see, that Tai Chi is all about. You don't use your energy. If you use your energy to fight the opposition, you'll be Goya on case. Okay? So remember that. Always use the energy. Young student, young architect, talk to the client. Oh, my design concept for your building is like this. My design philosophy is like that. The client looks at this, shit, they say, hello, friend, what about my concept? What is all your concept, your philosophy? I'm the one putting the money to build the building, If you are telling me about your needs, your concept, come on, be real. So that's what I feel of architecture is all about. You want to say something, you told me about this and this and this. Now I'm using your this and this and this to create this concept. Oh, really? Oh, this is my concept. Oh, this is, you are a good architect. That's the way we go. All right, next please. So my journey is a journey of passion, a journey of many pitfalls. I've fallen on my face so many times. I've got so many people who try to kill me and all sorts of things. And it's a real thing, but I survived. Right? So I don't know. So I don't know whether you think that's good or not, So anyway, we can talk about that later. Next, please. So from 1978 to 2008, that's how many years? That's about 40 years. I had a R&D center. I decided to have the R&D center. Why? Because, I remember when I was still very young, I present with a lot of enthusiasm, passion. Oh my God, like this, You know what the client asks you? Has this been done anyway? No. Can you show me an example of this? Your idea? Cannot. Then you want me to be your guinea pig, is it? So I said, hey, I thought you employ me for ideas. I said very softly, hey, you keep your ideas, let other people do it. So you do a few times, you begin. You see, you either give up and say, from now on, I'm not going to have any more ideas. I just do biasa. Or I continue. That's it. That's a fighting spirit. So I said, like the Hokkien pizza, CNN, I start my R&D. I experiment. So when they ask me, where can I see? I say, when are you free for lunch? Hello, the two of you know something I don't know.
Continue,
I was
please.
figuring out what CNN is.
Yeah, we were
And I
like,
was
what
like,
is CNN? What is
Huh?
CNN?
I was like, what is
They don't know
CNN?
what is CNN.
But I think I know it already.
But we know.
Oh, we know.
No need.
No need, we are Penang Hokkien, you know.
Maybe the online doesn't know.
Never mind. We'll send you a letter. So I started this thing. So when they want to see something, I say, when are you free for lunch? Then I invite them to my place for lunch. So they come, they have lunch. Oh, at least you impress them. But then there was once a client came to look at something, and I was walking out, and suddenly my dog on top pee on. Oh, so he was all wet. But I say, oh, it's okay, it's not your fault, it's the dog's fault. I said, okay, next. So these are images of all the different things I experimented with. You know, also structural system, modulating walls, connections, and so forth and so forth. Actually, there's a lot of information in there, a lot of lessons to be learned. And unless you visit it, you won't know, you see. So we did that. I did it for how many years? 30 years, right? So, okay, so next. Then we create things that we try to experiment with the wall. You see the wall with the pictures on? Those are load-bearing stone walls. You know, huge wall. All you do is you pack the stones in there and you put concrete and stays there. It's been stayed there for the last 40, 50 years already, you know, and no need engineer. Okay? So you do things like, why you need engineer? Forget about engineers, because engineers are very stupid. Oh, sorry, no engineers here, are there?
No.
Oh, good, thank you. I've got no love lost for engineers.
Oh,
So, and then you see those timber beams on top, joists, those are all recycled from old shop houses that are demolished. So that wall at the back is a stone wall. Then the one on the right is a brick load-bearing wall. Do you all know what load-bearing wall construction is? You see, that means no RC. Today, every engineer, every architect talk about RC. No RC. And that's very important. Because once you don't have to rely on RC, then you don't rely on engineers. You just do what you want. Next, please. Now,
maybe.
after I started this a few years, some Japanese architect, they all came, they got to know about this one. Then they sent a team of Japanese architects to document this whole place. You see, all in Japanese, I don't understand, but looks impressive. Looks like they have done a pretty good job. Have any of you ever dealt with Japanese? You all do. Yeah. The only time I've dealt with Japanese at close quarters is when I was in a lift. Then this Japanese guy rushed in and the door closed on him. Boom, you know. So in shock, he started bowing everybody inside the lift. I don't know why. So then I said, do you do this for a living every day? Yes. Then no. That was Japanese, you know. So they produced this. It's amazing. I mean, the detail is so incredible. But you know something? We have a lot of universities in Malaysia, in KL. None of the universities are interested to have a look at this research. Next, please. So some more drawings. You know, they're so short. I will never draw this because I don't have the time. But the Japanese do it for me. Look at right? Every detail, every rafter, every joist, you know, every beam, the brickwork, you know. You see, I just have to get on point. You see all these brick piers going all the way up, 4 stories, all bricks, no RC, right? And see, that's what I want to experiment. How can I build this thing up, still have rigidity? You all know, understand what rigidity means? Because when you look at the piers, the slenderness ratio of the height versus the thick. So in order to reduce the slenderness ratio, I have to break it down to like that. So that this part and this part, you can see, is reinforced by this
Hmm.
to give you rigidity.
Hmm.
So you got to repeat it all the way up. So see, this is where, as architects, we got to understand structures. So that you don't let the engineer say, oh, put a RC lah. Hey, why do I want to put RC when I can use brick? Yeah. So that's the sort of thing. No, this is an amazing drawing, you know, when you study it. Next, please. And these are some of the photographs. You know, see that all the brickwork on the left picture, all those brickwork are now RC. They are all load-bearing walls. That means all the bricks are carrying its own load. And all the window components and the timber were recycled from projects that have been demolished. Then the picture on the right is a brick wall again, that's load-bearing wall, to show you how this whole thing works. Next. Another amazing, you know, they studied the levels, the platform and all that. And I don't know, any of you can read Japanese?
Cannot.
I don't. See, I don't know what the writing is. But I mean, you look at the drawing, you feel very impressed, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, they know what they're talking about. Next. Then this is a view of the space. Now, I don't have windows, right? Just now someone mentioned to me in the topic about humidity. Where's our friend?
Gone already.
Huh?
He has lecture.
Okay, so he mentioned about humidity. I said, what's that to worry with humidity? Take your clothes off lah. So there you are, see the two models up there. Yeah. Reason why I put these models there is to give the space a sense of scale. Right? You see, very often we create space, you don't know what the human scale is. So good architecture must have a human scale. And of course, every time when people go there to visit my place, they walk in the front door. And when they look in the front door, wow, you know, this space goes up. And they go walk. And then when the head turns like that, you know, they've seen these two models. Because suddenly, naked woman. Next. So you must have some fun in your architecture. Now, here, okay, look, they've gone to the detail of the seats, the dimensions. You know, it's really quite incredible. Yeah. So I think this is something which we can learn from the Japanese, to be very meticulous. Don't take shortcuts. Next, please. Then this is just an elevation. See, all the components are all recycled. The recycled door, a window frame, the recycled casements on the left.
Recording stopped.
And of course, the crisscrosses are timber. See the big heavy window frame on the right. That came from an old house in Penang. They demolished it and they were thrown all this way. So I went and pick them up. Next.
Recording in progress.
Now this
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
These people started to market the bricks. They call them overburn bricks, sunrise, batik bricks, all sorts of nonsense. Next, please. So there's a different view of that. This is a family space. And the wood paneling, that timber is Dharma Minya. I don't know whether you have it here or not. Dharma Minya is a Malay name. In English, it's called kauri. If you go to New Zealand, you see all those huge trees they have in New Zealand, the kauri trees. These are the wood from that. And the sap from the kauri trees, becomes a resin. And when the resin gets into the earth for 30 to 40 million years, they form this amber. This is called amber. Right? This amber is a resin of the kauri tree that is fossilized. That's what it is. Next, please. You look at the brickworks, how rich the bricks are. Right? And kauri wood with age becomes very golden in color. Today, you cannot find kauri wood in Malaysia or Dharma Minya because most of the Dharma Minya trees have all been chopped off. That's Malaysia for you. Nothing sustainable. And yeah, okay, next. Now then, a few years later, we did another house. This house is interesting in that it's got a concrete platform. The rest of the whole house all in timber frame, timber everything, right? The house was built in 1980. Today would be how old? Huh? 45 years. Next. 45 years later is looking like this. Now, if anybody tell you about timber cannot last, I can look at them in the face and say, BS. You know what BS mean, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, CNN. Okay, see, all the wood is Chenga. It's a very strong Malaysian wood. Okay. Next. It is a close-up of it. There's the inside. Next. Then we did another house. Now, this house is unique in the sense, again, it was all timber with brick. Look very well. No RC. It's built on a hill. You see the shape, that's the shape of the hill. We did not use a bulldozer to flatten the earth, nothing. Right? The house just perched on top of that hill so that you can look on both sides of the hill, left and right. Next. That's what it looks like, you see. And I won an award for this. House of the Year. You see the picture on the left, see how the whole house, you know, sits on top of the thing. And now, this is the way, as architect, we must be very sensitive to the environment and see how we can minimize interference disturbance with the environment. And the picture on the left top, the right top, you see, it sits there in harmony visually, repose with the rocks and the trees in there. You know? It harmonizes as if it's part of the environment. And that's what we're talking about. Next. Then there's another house we did. Again, very steep side, and we just minimal cutting, you know, no bulldozer. Everything in timber, only part of it was in concrete because the client got a bit worried. He said, can we have concrete? I said, okay. Otherwise, he'll say, project abandoned. I said, oh. So sometimes we got to hold back. Okay? But anyway, it turned out to be a very good friend. We ended up building a second house for him. And even until today, we are still good friends. We are talking. So, next, please. So these are our drawings. In those days, we don't use computers, you know.
No,
Everything
that's
with hands. And in those days, when we use hands, we use the brain. You all, you know, in Chinese, you know what they call computer?
Now.
yeah.
电脑.
Yeah.
电脑 literally means electric brain.
Oh,
Electric brain. Your brain no need electric, right? If you put electric to your brain, koyak. Okay? Now, you ask yourself, would architecture be better if you don't have an electric brain, but just have your brain to produce things like that? I think this is a very fundamental question you ask. So do you want to use 电脑 or just now? Now it's brain. Next. See, that's what it looks like. See how steep the slope was. And look at the column, the tiang that goes up about 40 feet, straight like that. Right? You can't, nobody does architecture like that. Then or now.
yeah.
The now means now, not now. Okay? But you see, and you see the roof structure, we use like the umbrella, payung. You see the structure that comes out like that. You see, important, you know, when you do your architecture, you must have a certain control over your geometry, triangle and things like that. If it's triangle, that has to be nicely equilateral in that side. Next. Then sometimes we do big projects. This is the Awana Resort up in Genting. It's overlooking the golf course on a very steep site. And because it was such a big building, the whole building was built out of concrete. So there's no RC column, and it's just RC wall, RC slab, everything. So it's just a lump of rock. Because in a way, it's sort of to imitate rock so that there's no chance of this whole thing sliding down or breaking up because it's all held together. It's just like the rock in the ground. Next. So that's what it looks like. Very big project. The first project was a low rise. Can you go back one more? You see, this is all the low rise. Right? So after we've done that, there was a, you see, in the old, then the road went to do a roundabout to come back, you see. So one day, the client said, oh, the roundabout, the pond, can we build a tower on the roundabout? He said, then we did. Then we discovered that that roundabout was about 1 acre, half a hectare in area, you know. So we put out the tower. So we wanted to have the same pitch as the timber roof of the low rise, but the client said, no, I want a shape like that. So someone giving to the client cannot fight all the time. Because this client, every time you say something, he say, oh, CNN. Next. So that's a structure. You see, we have to come out with this detail. Because we wanted the shape. Can you imagine if we leave it to the engineer? Now the bloody engineer will have concrete here, concrete there, things everywhere. Nothing geometric. You see, with the structure, we have this radiating struts. And then you see the radiating strut we have. Here, and then we shake it in like that, so that all the struts go to the front, right? And then we have the gusset plate inside. The gusset plate is shaped by the fan. Things going on. But you leave to an engineer, he will put a square metal plate like that. Right? Totally out. So this is what I mean by we cannot take charge, cannot give engineers. Now, all those of you who have worked in offices before, when you make working drawings, working like 2 straight lines, RC beam to inch detail. You'll do 2 vertical lines, RC column to inch detail. Finish. Where is your diligence? Where is your responsibility? Where is your passion? Your eye for beauty? Engineers got no sense of beauty, engineers. You think about it. In nature, do you see any straight lines? Did nature create any straight lines? Who invented straight lines? Bloody engineers. Right? They are the ones who invented straight lines, not architects. God never created straight lines. You think about, you ever see a tree that's straight like that? Never. Can you imagine if all the women are shaped like that? Straight lines? Oh, good night. Next, please. Now the other views here. Next. Next. This is another Awana. This is Awana in Kijau. Again, we had a lot of fun, designing all these timber structures. Next. You see, this is the porte cochere. You see, when you start to create things, and can we go back one more slide, please? You see, when you have your interior, your roof, and your structure like that, when the client says, I want to bring my good friend's daughter who is an ID to do my house. When she comes in there, she takes one look, she won't know where to start. You won't know where to start. Yeah? So your architecture don't get corrupted. But if all you have is just plain wall, flat ceiling, like the inside of a shoebox. Oh, they say, oh, I think I put this, some Spain, what thing, whatever, all these names. Spoil your space. Very important. Think about that. You see, when you have a chair, you sit on chair, make sure you sit on chair fully. Don't just sit on one side. You sit on someone will come and say, hey, no one's sitting, you sit there. Next thing they push you off. Well, next, please. Next. Oh, then in late 80s, I was asked by the third Malaysian Prime Minister before Anwar, the one who has gone to jail for Najib. At that time, Najib was the Menteri Besar of Pahang State. So they wanted to build this timber mosque, masjid for the whole state of Pahang, many, all over, because he was trying to, so he's good, all the people for him. So they approached me, then, so I talked to them. So I said, okay, you know, so I said, hey, but make sure your architecture is a little bit reflective of Buddhist culture. Buddhist culture. But never mind. So in the end, cut a long story short, I went to Makassar, but in those days it was called Ujung Pandang. I went to Ujung Pandang for about a week, went around the whole area, looked at the Buddhist architecture. Actually, the Buddhist is not the main tribe that I think they were the Makassaris. And among the Buddhists, there were about 5 tribes, all tribes and all that. So I came back and made a proposal. And that's the Asfaham. Amana Saham Paham. Next week. So you see, that's me presenting the model to Mahathir. And the one in the middle is Najib, who you see there. And then me on the left with the black beard, white. Then you see there's the Mahathir's wife, the daughter. You look at Najib's eyes. Oh, he could eat me. I don't know why he looked at me like that. Come on, next. So this essentially, in the end, they picked 2 designs. One is the large design with the triple roof and the smaller design, double roof. And there's a state of Pahang map. And in the end, they built about 70 of these mosques all over the state of Pahang. And next. So these are some drawings we made of that time, but I had a fire in my office. And almost everything was burned. So we salvaged a few pieces of it. So you can see these are the drawings we used to make. There's a drawing, you know. Organ drawing. Using the tree, you know, we had a lot of fun drawing things like that. The architecture is fun. No piano. No piano. Piano cannot be this. Piano, you get the same one. Pop, they don't look like that. It's terrible. Okay. Next. So that's a section of the 2-tier roof. Very simple. Next. Then this is a 3-tier larger one. Now, you think that this is a timber structure, so simple, engineers can design it, right? Any engineer worth his salt can do. But no, all the bloody engineers say RC. You know, finally, in order to get all this timber design, because I got design, you know, we had to fly a structural engineer all the way from Sydney to work with us for 2 weeks to come up with the whole structural system. Right? Now, that shows the quality of our engineers. They are so shit lazy. You know, these engineers, you tell them anything, they know, cannot. Oh, give me soft copy. I say, why soft copy? Then you can see, oh, that's me program. You get a training on it. Come on. I say in those days, we give you the drawing, you retrace. Do something, earn your money, don't be so lazy. I told them, I write them, I don't care. Because their attitude is such. And this is where architect you must be exerted. And then the other one is TNN. TNN. In Cantonese, The one is in Hokkien, TNM is in Cantonese. Now, so we produce axonometric to show how the structural system is. Because we understand the system, we want the system to be different. You know, doing. Next. That's what it is. Very simple, very clear, very light, very cheap build. Nice. We have to use heat plates because that is the fastest, you know. And all the steel wires are for bracing, so that you don't see. Next is. This is a tree here. So I think this is a lovely picture to show the setting, coconut trees, and children on the bicycle. I think it's such a lovely portrayal of what tropical is about, what our thinking lifestyle is about. No influence from the West, nothing adulterate or right. This one is my favorite video. Next please. Then, of course, in 1980 something, then we had to do this house for at Orang Puteh with Melayu wife. Well, the guy tells me, I like a very traditional Malay looking house, you know. The wife said, no, I want a modern house. Oh, shit, you know, when you have that conflict, the last thing you want to be as an architect is ever to get into the middle of conflict between husband and wife. Because when they fight, you get better. When they make up, you're fornicating. So I finally decided that I'll use this opposite conflict as a basis for my design concept. Next. You see, two triangles, each pointing, one pointing, one pointing down. So one the husband pointing away, the other one pointing. So that became the basis for my design. Okay. And then the rest of the triangle is all based on functional requirements, circulation, and so forth. So, and also again, you see, I've raised everything for, you know, the traditional Malay, Indonesian, the same too. All the architecture of the Nusantara area, it's all elevated around, and it's so functional. And it beats me why modern architects don't do that. You do it because you are so friendly to the environment, you're so friendly, you save cost and you create visual beauty. You know, the last thing you need to do when you are designing a hotel by the beach is to have the hotel, boom, so that when you're behind the hotel, you can see the sea. Then you say, oh, I'm going to the beach. What beach? I'm looking at a building. So whenever we do any hotel project by the sea, we always elevate it up so that you have a connectivity. You can see the sea. And that's very important. Right? These are sensitivity. Now, how many of you have been to Singapore? I'm sure you have been. Have you all been to Sentosa Island? No, you must go visit Sentosa Island. You have. You have Sentosa Island. All the super multi-billionaires have all the bungalows there, right? When you drive into Sentosa, you know that you're on an island. You don't know that the sea is over there. All you see is houses, 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 houses. You would think, oh, intellectual writing, their planning to say, you either elevate it up or you set back so that you are conscious of your connectivity to the sea. See, this is where architectural sensitivity comes in. You know, you just go, this is what I promise you, you guys go, and if you find a space in Sentosa, you can see, view the sea, let me know that. So I'll be know, and I'll give you 100 ringgit. Then I lost you. That's it. So that's very important. I mean, these are little stories I want to share with you. You'll remember in your design next week. So I have a carpenter, the guy on the top left, Pak Ibrahim. Now, he is a carpenter. He's a no right hand, and his left eye is blind. So when they showed him our design, he was in Kelantan. they showed him the design. They said, oh, this design is not the conventional Rumam Rayu, you know, the triangle like that. So what do you think? You know what this answer is? If they can draw, I can make it. And what a color that, if that's not determination. Now, architects must have the spirit. You have a vision, do it. You know, a lot of people in Penang, I'm from Penang, Penang is the worst learning place, I tell you. Worst. Every time in Penang, you ask them, HOO, and do or not. Answer, Bela, 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 three tones, Bela, cannot. Then you look at them and make you say, why? Why, I said, I don't know, Hokkien, I'm trying. Go. Yeah, that's all I did you. That's what I said. Place up and then sure die on me. Cannot die also will sure die. So that's all I did. That I tell you, that's a solution. And I want every one of you to be like that. You got no hand, you got no left eye, and yet you can do it. No, that is what life's about. You live life to the fullest. As a hundred, create to the fullest, not Yasala. Why climb one it all? Then go on the climb. The climb, I just do something, don't say sorry, you're going to get another architect. Hey, I do that, you know. Yes. Oh, I mean, let me tell you. Many years ago, I was doing this project for this quite big project in the country huts in KL. Oh, did the design, always interview husband, wife, the three children, and all that. Did not design everything. So, yeah, good, very good. So I say, good, I can now submit plans to DBKL, the one by Malaya. Oh, no, he's from Penang. The wife also from Penang, but living in KL now. Okay, what? Must ask the feng shui master. You're not feng shui master is always the death of the architect. All the design get thrown out because feng shui master take this, this can be right. Wow. And times not that they get you do everything finished, then feng shui master to catch you. Oh, okay. I use a big word. Anyway, is it? What did you tell me earlier? Okay, so who's the feng shui master? Oh, I said Mr. Yap Cheng Hai. Oh, I thought, oh, Yap Cheng Hai, my old friend. I've been dealing for the last 20 years. I know his Tangalagu and all that, you know. So I said, okay. So it made Cheng Hai very busy. So I was in Penang office. Then I got called from my office in KL. I said, oh, so Cheng Hai wants to have a time tomorrow afternoon. I said, I'm in Penang, how do I get down there? I said, oh, this is a rich dinner. So the client then said, no mind, we'll pay you for your head to come down tomorrow morning and eat, then the following day we do that. So I said, okay, since the client pay everything, like, wow, came down. You know, the dinner was in one of the Shark's Fin Avenue restaurant, the most expensive restaurant in KL in those days. For architect, they don't even invite you for Nasi Lemak lunch, but the feng shui master, something like anything. So when that's I give me hold on. After eating, get up. The Cheng Hai, you always in conflict on this. Okay, front door, very good. Then stay. He goes on to the bedroom, to the master bedroom, the bedroom, everything. Then he said, oh, very good house. Wow, happy. So next day, happy. Now can submit plan, go back to Penang. At about 4:30, I got a phone call from KL. That's right. Hey, give me was thinking lah. I said, you know what? My wife was thinking, can you make a few different design outlook for the house? I said, WTF. Wow. I said, yesterday didn't see the feng shui master already. Feng shui master approved everything, so now what do you want? He said, no, you see, you only gave us one outlook. You know, all her friends are the architect with many outlooks one now. I said, hey, my friend, okay, I think easy. You just pay me for all my work done, you go and get an architect under me. That's what I do. I don't carry. This is good for. Of course. Then there was then more recently, we were doing this thing, and then this time suite used to be in the government, retired. So after retired, very free. So every day we have start meeting, you come, after you come. So after all that, so when he comes to meeting, you must show respect to your plan and then share the meeting. So then after the project is delayed, he writes me a letter. He said, you are not controlling the project, it's delayed and all that. I saw that I cannot tahan. I said, dear sir, though I'm very experienced, I'm not capable of completing the project. I feel like the end of my resignation. Oh, he got very angry. He wrote back to me, he said, how can you pop up with this responsibility, this and that? I said, dear sir, when I took on this project, I expected a Mercedes class project. I would have settled for a Volvo class project. But when you want to go for Proton Saga from Sungai Bisi, I'm not capable of doing it. That's it. I wait him. Oh, you're very angry. What can you do? He didn't pay my fee the last time. I got the satisfaction. Oh, you see, I mean, in life, being satisfied at the fact that you have stood for your dignity is very important. You know? To think that you bend over for someone to gaza your belakang, forget it. Next week. So there you are. See, here the structure is so clear. The triangulation, the structured system. So a building must have a proper structured system. So when you're a structured system, you carry it out upstairs in the roof, in the ceiling, below the slab, out in the elevation and so forth. Next week. This here again, make it in here. The building. See, this building was relocated from its original site. And this is the new site in Salambat. So everything is almost the same because it was designed that way. Next. These are just pictures, just for fun. The picture on the right is Pak Ibrahim receiving the award from the Aga Khan. Then the King of Spain is on the right, and behind him, Ibrahim Asmi. I had to be there because he could only receive with the left hand the certificate, and then I had to take it from him so that he could shake hands with the Aga Khan. That's a reason. Then, of course, the picture on the left is just me. And the picture in the middle is me, the carpenter, the two times, the Orang Masale, and the Malay lady. And of course, at the bottom, the smiley face is Suha Oskan, the convener of the Aga Khan Award. And the lady on the right, you all should know her. There's Aha. According to Suha, when the jury was meeting and they were going through the drawings, Zaha saw this design, he said, this has to be a winner. So her decision was quite influential. So the night after we received the award, there was a big banquet at the Alhambra. So I was sitting next to Zaha Hadid. We were drinking and eating until we all got drunk. So next is this is another house we did, timber house. Again, this house is got no walls at all, you know what I mean? Things like that. You believe in it, you do it. And that's it. Next place. You see the section drawing? No wall. And we have huge overhang. You see the overhang? I think these two overhangs are about close to 20 feet. And this one is about 14 feet. So after we worked it all out, we figured maybe that's what we could do. I asked an engineer friend, this one I thought would be a better engineer. You know, an excellent engineer. He was here in KL. So I asked him, his name is Tim Barwood. I said, Tim, I've got this detail. What do you think? You think you're able to float on the two beams? You know, he looked at it and said, as usual, the people are saying, oh, Jim, why do you want to make life difficult for us? Stick two columns underneath, be done with it. I said, have you? I said, if I want to do that, I won't ask you. I said, I want this thing to be floating. So that's it. So anyway, after we got it built, I brought him in and he looked at it and said, oh, shoot, how do you work? He was surprised. Now, the reason why the whole thing works is because I've created a rigid joint where the awning roof sits on the beam. And it's very important, you see, that you understand structures yourself. You do something, you experiment, and from there, slowly you build up your own repertoire and your experience. That you can do a lot of interesting things. Next slide, please. There you see, from drawing, it's translated to real thing. See, we got timber column that's going up, timber beams that's spanning right across, and you see all the complicated bracketing joint that I have to make a rigid joint so that the whole thing just floats on it. Next. See, here's another view. On the picture on the left, you can see the whole awning roof, the lower one and the upper one, spanning across. You see, it's a bit difficult for me to explain now, you know, just like that for you. But so in order for someone to want to know about how the structural system works, you know, I have to sit down on a workshop to explain, to take you through and understand the whole principle of the whole thing. Yeah? Then you can do it. That's how it is. Next. See here again, look at the thing spanning. Next. Oh, this is another simple house. This was a house for former Malaysian ambassador to the United States. He was in England, I think. Someone introduced him to a British group of architects. Have you ever heard of Pentagram? Pentagram? No. One of the partners of Pentagram was Theo Crosby. So Theo Crosby sort of worked with us on this design. A very simple Malay type of house in KL. Next. So it's quite simple, quite restrained, you know.
I must check.
Next. They collected quite a lot of Chinese antiques. Next. Now this is the Prisima house. Here again, architecture without walls, you are connected with the outside and you have cheap blinds, so if it rains out, you put on your cheap blinds. And again, the whole concept of floating roof. You just have two columns, the rest is nothing. And the column is sitting in the water. Next. And this is the ceiling, the roof framing structure exposed. And in itself, it creates a visual pattern. Right? So you don't need the interior designer to come in and stick some scratches here and there, put some circles. Next, in other views, see different angles. See, when you look at the house from different angles, it gives you a different feel and all that. And the owner of the house, they bought a lot of artifacts from Bali and from Thailand. So we have to sort of design these elements into it, like the doors and windows and what have you. Next. You see those doors? Those are high doors, I think, or balconies, I can't remember. Next. And this is a house that completely built of timber. Now, here again, you see the timber is gone up about 30 feet tall, a little bit like the early house in 1980 something, the one on the slope. See, this house, all the columns are same size. So all the columns were made in the factory and delivered to site, and the whole thing was crane lifted up and put in place. The whole erection of the structure took only 2 weeks. So in a way, it's like building in steel. So you design in timber, you design in steel, same approach. Next. So these are detailed, and this is Chenga wood, and the wood is so well finished. It looks so precise. And again, the whole thing is elevated above the ground. You have the visual connectivity from the front to the back, right? Next. So this is again, you see, this is from the front entrance. When you come in the front entrance, this is what greets you. The water in the distance, the ceremony stay up, and then to the upper level. It's always creating a processional route. So from where you're standing now, you go down a few steps. Then you transverse across there to the ceremony step. Then you go up and then you stop. And then you turn right and you go. So you are experiencing the space. So as designers, you must create and direct your people to experience the space, not just having that. And let the ID come in and put a stair here, a stair there. Crazy. Don't do that. Next. There's a dining table. You see, this whole thing is designed in such a way. So all the Angmo, they all have dinner here and drink and whatever. Then some of them, after they've had a few drinks, decide that they want to have a swim. They pull the window apart and they jump down into the water. I tell you, crazy. Next. Now, you see, there are 2 opium beds, right? So we had to take the dimension of the opium bed, and then so that we designed the columns in the spacing that it could slot in and fit in the bay window that we have there, so that everything looked like it's all tailor-made. There are lots of elements. So this is all part of your architecture. Once you do that, you've got no more space for the ID to come in. Right? Now, if we did not make space, make allowance for that, the client will got the ID to come in and say, oh, shit, cannot go in there, huh? Your column is too close. Then engineer, the architect, the client will start rousing. Why you need like that? You should make it a bit bigger. So this is where your diligence comes. Right? Sense of responsibility, diligence, sense of urgency. Next. These are pictures of the master bedroom, bathroom. The picture on the right is a bathroom. Can you imagine the bathroom like that? Don't know the right.
That's the button.
And then the picture on the left is the, so it's not a spiral set, but a kind of winding stair.
Winding.
The master bedroom.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Next.
Yeah.
This is another house. See, the whole structure is exposed. Right? Because it's exposed, it makes a pattern.
Mm.
Right? No more. What else you need? All you need is your architecture. So your architecture must speak for itself. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't be timid about it. Next. This outside. There's a whole lot of swimming pool around and little huts. And the building on the right is supposed to be the meditation pavilion. See, this client was quite spiritual, or he tries to be like. They want spiritual pavilion.
Thank you.
Huh?
No, it's right.
No, he said feng shui. Is it feng shui?
No, don't know what other guy. Now he says he's blind, but he's not blind. To the good, next. So this living states, you know. No, why I said to the good, he said, no, having agreed with him on the fee. Then there was one day was I was having lunch in the office, he calls me up and said, hey, your fee is a bit high, can you reduce? I said, your bloody house is almost finished already, now you want to reduce fee. I said, well, cheapskate scolded him now. Well, I just told him after that, he dare not talk to him. Next. Next week. So this is upper roof level. Is it that your eye is moving all over the place? There's so much things to see, you know. It's not just a blank, flat ceiling, flat walls, and then you got some windows, some opening, and things like that. Come now, next. Oh, okay. So that's it. So this was my office.
Oh.
We had a fire. This building was burned down in a fire in 2004. I had a fire on the 4th day of April 2004. Now that's a function number, right?
Oh,
040404.
Wow.
Oh, C. Huh? Now, if that's not a powerful sign, what is it? You gotta ask yourself that. And when that happened, I was in Zanzibar. I was there to do a technical review on a project for the Aga Khan Award. Right? I mean, I've done a few. In fact, many years ago, I did the review for Johara. You know, the architect Johara,
Yeah.
his steel house in Jakarta. I went there, I met him, and I'm very sorry to hear he passed away. Very good friend. I said this is review, but he didn't get it. So I was in there, and I was getting up to go and have breakfast. And I having vision of a nice breakfast, fried egg, fried bacon, and fried Oxford sausages. You know. Then I got a phone call. My sister said, "Oh, Sanko, your office got burned down." Huh? So I said, okay. So I said, how much was burned? I thought maybe a little bit. She said, whole place. I said, huh? Anyway, after that, I was in shock for the whole day. And then, of course, you know, when things like this happen, you say, why me? Why me? You know, what must happen now? CNN, you know. Then, but the evening when the sun was setting across the sea of Zanzibar, where what's the African big mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro, in the distance, you know, suddenly the magic light. Why not you? Why not your office get burned down? Oh, I tell you, why should it be someone else? Then, of course, I started to think of all the houses in KL that used to have fire and burned down and all that. And I said, you know, those people must have suffered just like me. So now I'm going through some suffering. And that's what life is all about. You take it and you move on. Next. Now there's the downstairs. Downstairs was not burned. But was very lucky that all my 4 joists stood up. But then a lot of the floors charred with holes in them. So when you're upstairs now, you can look down, you know. So when you have that, what do you do? I have to decide, do I tear everything up or put a new floor? Next. So I decide that the only way to do all this is I put new joists over the existing floor and put all this tiles over it as a new thing. And you see the glass, where the glass are where all the floors have been burned. So I thought I'll celebrate the visual connectivity with the downstairs. So when there's light upstairs and no light downstairs, you get light coming through. And when downstairs got light, so at least you remember the part of journey. And that's very important. History teaches a lot about the future. Remember, today was yesterday's tomorrow, as today will be tomorrow's future, yesterday. So it's always ongoing. So we must never forget our past. That's why I say tropical architecture connects us to our environment. We shouldn't talk about modernism and all that. I mean, Corbusier is not modern anymore. Corbusier is ancient. When I was studying architecture, Corbusier was very new. In those days, there were 3 heroes: Corbusier, Mies van der Rohe, and Frank Lloyd Wright. So in those days, it was modern to us. Today, how can it be modern to you people? But you people still talk like yesterday. There's something wrong. Something wrong with the teaching. You should be looking at people in our vicinity, the last generation, and not people from that part. Their ancient history. You see, people like this in conservation, you talk about conservation, you must know the period. Okay, sorry, I'm confusing you. Next. Or using plywood. Oh, there's another house we did, 1995. It was completed on year 2000. And at that time, the owner decided he would have a party on December the 31st. When at that time, the 2KY, yeah, 2YK hoax was on. So we were expecting to see plane collapsing and all that. All this bloody bullshit from the West, the Western media, Western propaganda, all the time confuse people just to make money. Just like COVID. Architecture without walls. You see, there's a dining room. So all I have is all these vertical strips that modulates the fenestration. And one common detail we apply to everyone. Next. Then another part of our house, I have these windows, circular windows that I call feng shui windows. They revolve in the central axis. Next. Then, this is, it's a project we did in India, Ahmedabad. Again, architecture with the walls. Now, the picture on the left was about or something, yeah. That place is pretty much desert, very dry. Then the picture on the left is what it is today. But this picture wasn't taken by me, it was taken by my son. He sent to me 12 years after the project was done, during the COVID December. And then, wow, I said, hey, fantastic. This is so rushed. Why did we get so rushed? Next. This was the house when it was completed. Very stark. Next. But today, that's what it is. All green. Next. Now, at that time when it was completed, we created this pond in front of the house. So that all the gray water goes there. So you want to create any environmental impact, this is a fine example of success story. So I can talk with a certain amount of authority because of this. So with this water here, next. Now it's become this. Things start to grow because there's water there, everything is green. So the whole house is all become green now. So as a designer, that is my idea of creating a sustainable environment, green environment. It's going to be true. That's what it is next. All these are various views of it. Next. That's a recent house we did in Johor. The owner of this was the president of NUS, National University of Singapore. This house is only for him and his wife. They got no children, nothing. Very simple requirements. Next. That's his art studio up in top of the road. The whole structure was built with steel and concrete. But we don't want any timber. Next. This is the central void. Going up. So if you have the structure all in steel, again, you know, the detailing, we did all the detailing, was not done by engineers. So, every time we got a new design project, it's a journey and discovery. We start with all the creating spaces for people. It's just then is this going to be a new sunrise for us? Right. Next. So this brings me to the topic, the sunrise. The sunrise means the sun has set and then the sun has come up again. For it to come up again, it means it's gone down, come up again. It rises. So if this is more what you achieved in life here, right? Then we have a sunset. So in the sunset, will you then stay on underneath the sunset? No, because you've done a full day's work, you've achieved meritocracy, and do you then start to go into mediocrity? That's something you have to be careful. Do you allow yourself to slump? Or you say at this point, spark up again. And then at this point of your next sunset or term I use is IIC, the invisible intellectual ceiling. Every one of us get that. So we then you allow them to start down or you keep on going. Now, if you keep on breaking through your IIC, then there'll be no end to your creativity. But for those of you who get to that point and say, oh, to go, enough. Like what the new people are, everything enough. So, like that, you only start into mediocrity and then you ultimately disappear. So you keep on going and going and never stop. Next. You set a benchmark for your own attainment. Let me for your own excellence. You must have core values in your way of life. Responsibility, diligence, urgency. And then, like in the Scout movement, be prepared. Then, of course, my philosophy, architecture, for architecture. And then, also in my vocabulary, I have the rights and the topic. I have 13 to 15 reference points about what the topics are. And, you know, I've got no time to put it here. So then we talk about respect of building materials conservation. And in your design, which is about passive energy architecture. And in my case, I search for architecture without walls to reflect tropical needs of my architecture. So these are the core values that you set for yourself to maintain your meritocracy. And very important. See, here I worked out a chart of my, what I call my journey. So at every stage, I set a different dimension. So I'm always going on. Next. This part. So it's a progression. So at every point, when I move to the next one, I do something new. And this is where you want to articulate to yourself, remind yourself, what is it that you're achieving? So every stage of the way, and that is how we maintain your graph. I mean, I suppose, I don't know, the reason I say this is I have won a few recognition, and I suppose for us in this part of the world to get an Ultracan award is a recognition that we have done something right in life, right? Don't worry about the Nobel Prize, those are all for the white people. See, don't forget the white, we're always scratching each other's back, sniffing each other's bum, you know? They don't do anything else. So we don't need them. That's why BRICS, B-R-I-C-S, is being formed in the world today. And it's getting the G7 or G9 very upset. But never mind. Next, please. So where do we go from here? This is the next question I'm asking myself. This is a question I pose to you. That's what it is. So you see, a few years ago, the Chief Minister of Penang sued me for defamation. I said, what defamation did I make? Oh, because I gave an interview. And then the newspaper said, 1A fails. NGO. So he sued me for saying he failed. Wanted me to apologize, retract my statement. And apologize for what? So then pay me damage. Pay you damage for what? What did the damage you? So he sued me 300,000. So I went to court, fought him. First one, Penang judge, of course, favored him. Later we get Dr. Shit, you know. The one Indian lawyer in Penang. Then we have to went to High Court. The damages, 10 minutes they listen is going on. So we won. So I stick my two fingers, one A. No, I tell you, and that's not the first time. I fought with the mayor of Kuala Lumpur. I fought with the chief secretary of state of Perak. And then I fought with the Lembaga architect. this one. So that's life. Next week. You don't follow my life. Next week. See how timber is being used as formal after the building, they throw it away. You see, why are we wasting our heritage? Next. This is traditional architecture of the inside out. Next. So when we are free, you know, we draw all these things. Here's a poster of all the downloads were designed, all the sections. At least when you look at it, you can see, you know, every kind of all the spaces are connected. You know, and there's a continuity of philosophy flow. It's good to do this sort of thing, you know, for those of you who are Catholic, you know, go confession, mea culpa, mea mea culpa, you know, that sort of thing. So, you do that, you look at it, so these are resident, these are the non-residential. So there's a certain amount of similarity in all the design, and also there's a certain amount of madness and craziness. But that's what architecture is about. You should be mad sometimes, you should be crazy sometimes. Cannot be always serious, you know. Not like the Japanese fellow get knocked by the lift door and got such a power. Yes. Then when we have more free time, you know, if we draw all this perspective of all our design and put it in a biblical kind of a graphic, you have a look. Then when you look at it, you go, oh my goodness, terrible. How can environment be like that? Next. So there's so many designs, so we have to have quite a few of these pictures. Next. So there you are. Next. Yeah, that's it. So that's architecture. Thank you very much.
Okay, Jamie, thank you so much for such a marvelous presentation. And I think our friends and from online can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. You have in around
Didirinig aja ko. Sorry.
Oh, di
almost 2 hours. We have almost 2
Yeah.
hours minus 10 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah, so in about almost 2 hours, you have taken us to an incredible journey of a lifetime, right? And showing us your achievements, your ups and downs, and all your personal struggles, professional endeavors in keeping up with the time, as well as convincing the world that if those colleagues who don't believe you in your architecture, you fought your ways and you convinced them, not through theoretical rhetoric, but through your real works. And your works have been recognized internationally, regionally. So all of us here, once again, we want to thank you, and we feel honored to have you here. And I believe our friends at the Zoom platform of Omar Albert shall feel the similar ways. And of course, from your lectures, I believe many of us here offline here at Kami Space, as well as our friends online, should have come up with some questions, come up with some intriguing thoughts that maybe they want to share with you, and you can respond to them with rigor, with your passion. So now I think I shall open the floor to hi Omar. So our good friend here, Omar from FA, the principal of FA Associates, is here already. And so I think now it's time to to open the stage for anybody, I think let's start from our offline guests first who are present here at Kami Space. Anybody want to ask questions? It could be in English, it could be in Bahasa, I can translate them.
Yeah, there's one.
If-
William,
Yeah, anybody want to kickstart the discussion? Or if you guys here are still composing your thoughts or your questions, maybe we can check if there's any.
Sure.
Online, from
Online.
online, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Freddy can
Yeah,
read, yeah, okay, or read.
Belum dah, belum ada.
Belum ada.
Not yet, not
Oh,
yet.
belum sih.
Coba di announce saja online can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And our colleagues online, our friends, the participants online. Anybody wants to raise question or to share your thoughts, you are, of course, very much welcome. Can they speak up? directly?
Yeah, they
Or they
can.
have to type?
They can type or they can raise hand.
Okay, you can raise your hands, virtually, and then, through that emoji, and you can also type your questions. Or you want to speak directly through the microphone of your laptop or your mobile device, it's also possible. Okay, I think I got one. Hey, it's from our good friend, Real Rich. Hi, it's from Rich.
Oh,
Yeah, hi, Rich. You want to speak up or you want to say directly your, Rich?
Hello, Jimmy. Hello,
Yes,
Paswardi.
yes, hi, Rich, yeah,
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay. I have a question for Jimmy. Hello, Jimmy.
hello.
The question is, as our nations, Indonesia, we have been struggled in our political identity. We want to show ourselves that we want to be equal with the West. I think that's one of the case that's been discussed in the conference or paper or seminar since the 1980s. So, do you have any thought, or you have the same problem in Malaysia? Because I think there were like a Maslow functional that we want to be respected, appreciation, self-esteem, and everything is one of the highest needs that maybe architects needs. So, do you have any reflection on? Do you have any that case in Malaysian architecture when you pave your way through in your in your architecture? So, what's your thoughts about this and your maybe reflection on our own Indonesian architecture? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. I cannot speak about Indonesia, but I know that Malaysian architecture has a very bad case of COVID for a long time. The COVID is, they try to aid the West. See, for example, you talk about, everyone wants to say, oh, I'm a modern architect. What's a modern architect? Can we define what's modern architect? Or for that matter, what's modernism? Modernism is so dated. Corbusier in those days was very well known. Bauhaus, why are people still talking about Bauhaus? Why are you still going to the Bauhaus? You mean to say that the Asian brain has not developed in the last 50 years? I mean, this is bad thing. And I think it's all through indoctrination. They all went to schools where the teachers don't know anything about local history, so they pontificate what they know from the past. This is why in my work, I don't try to aid anything from the West. I do my thing, I stand on my own 2 feet, and I can defend my work on my own merit and on my own terms. I don't have to go into somebody else's turf to defend my work in their turf. When you do that, you are losing. As simple as that. I think you must have pride in yourself, confidence in yourself that you can do it. Not anywhere else. Our guys have no confidence. Everyone say, oh, you know, crazy. I mean, sometimes when you listen to some of our fellows, the way they still talk about some architects' work is like, I don't know. I mean, people still talk about Corbusier's exhibition. I mean, Corbusier is outdated. You know something? One of these days, when I get a chance, I'll share with people some video interview I had with a client of Le Corbusier. client, you know, of course, that lady is passed away. She was the wife of the mayor of Ahmedabad, where Corbusier went to do some project. And when you listen to her talk about Corbusier, then you realize what the hell we can do better. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Won't say too much.
All right, thank you, Rich, for your question. Do you have
Yes, I,
a question?
can I continue? Can I
Sure.
continue? I mean,
Yeah, sure.
I just want to make it more detailed in a way that I know that we need to find our own self-esteem to make our own way. But the next question is, in your method of design, what is your preference? Maybe for, let's say, which one is first? Affordability first, economical first, materiality first, or doing a climatic of tropicality? Or can you explain more like your contextual method? Because we are like in our discussion in some of the seminar, we've got some of the key that maybe that can bridge the way that to be freed from this kind of post-colonial thinking is to find our own contextual method. Can you share this kind of way, Jimmy, in terms of the design method and how you overcome your independent on the design? Thank you.
Okay, it's an interesting question. You know, actually, every architecture student who goes to school are never taught how to design. I speak to a lot of interns. And how do you approach it? Oh, the lecturer tell us something, and then we have to go and Google everything ourselves. Google seems to be the tutor, and this comes out to this whole thing. Now, I think that's very unfair. But then again, having said that it's unfair, it's very difficult to actually have a formula of how to approach design. In fact, 3 days ago, I met lecture I gave to the students. I actually shared with them that the method of design approach that I've been using all these years was a method that I learned from the professor of architecture when I was at University of New South Wales. This professor was a Hungarian professor architect who had emigrated to Sydney. And his method in those days was painfully slow, painfully laborious, and painfully mundane. But let me tell you, in all its painfulness, it proved in real life to be a bonus. Because when you go through this whole painful procedure, you finally come up with a set of numbers. And when you look at all these numbers and you put them together, that becomes the direction for your design to proceed. And for me, that is always the clue of how my structural system would be, how the direction of the design would be. And this is something which, I mean, I just describe it, but we got to see it to see how it gets done. I mean, we're still doing it. In fact, last week, I used the same formula to design a clinic for a veterinary office in a project we're doing at the moment in KL. So, you know, you got all these spaces and all that. And so the intern that I have who's working with me is now beginning to understand how, with all those numbers, which she found so difficult to do, in the end was able to create something she never expected. That, to me, is something we got to develop. And I'll be quite happy to share it. I hope that means something.
Yeah, as a follow-up from that, I keep wondering, since you mentioned that I'm at campus with this method that was taught by your Hungarian professor. Would you mind, Jimmy, to share with us some keywords? We understand that it might be complicated to explain everything of that method in detail, but some takeaways or some keywords, would you please share with us, especially for younger architects here?
Yeah, the first thing is functionality. You always tell us, you start off by designing all the different spaces that you are going to have in your building. Lay out the space, ideally with furniture and what have you. Once you've got that worked out, work out the sizes and so on. And from there, you develop a space. That takes a lot of work. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is your circulation diagram. The circulation diagram is a very, very important thing. I ask students all the time, yeah, we do circulation diagram. And I tell you, when they show me the circulation, I say, what is this? This is like crossword puzzle. You see, when you do your circulation diagram, none of the arrows are allowed to cross. All the spaces have to have independent structure. It's just a tree coming up. You cannot have a branch coming out bottom or a trunk coming from there. So the whole thing just spread. And once you got that, you got the area, then you put the two together, it gives you the solution. It's as basic as that, but it takes a lot of work. Very mundane. All architects, I remember when we were told to do this, all the final year architecture, oh shit, bloody George, yeah, F which and we should be just going in and design this, design that. All right. But at the end of the day, I don't know. It's work on me. I don't know whether it will work for other people, but something you got to develop. Yeah.
That's interesting, very inspiring. So instead of searching for forms or the appearance or the spectacularity of your design that you want to submit, now we live in the social media world that everybody wants to show something visually appealing through their social media channels. But then some experts say that even though they look incredibly beautiful from outside, but perhaps inside it's not yet confirmed to have a soul.
Yeah.
And well, somehow I can relate to what you have said, and I think all of us here we subscribe to what you have shared with us, and that's a wonderful lessons. And Rich, do you have any other follow-up question or comments?
I have some of the comments that I put in the things that I've been to the Jimmy's work, and I can feel the intricacies that he want to bring. That I think that in one to another project there are some of the permutation and varieties, and he tried to one to another things. He like to explore one method to another method, but I think one of the big key is the tropicality and functionalities. But the way that he did it is quite interesting because he tried to deconstruct in his own thinking. I think it needs a huge energy to do it.
Do you agree?
One of the house that, yeah, I think you have a huge energy. And one to another thing, when you do a design, he like to do it in kind of a vocabulary. It's like a talking, have a promenade and have a foyer, and after that it's kind of like a exploding to another dimensions. So I have a calling like a bringing a fantasy of his own childhood. For of course, the one of the lines is the circulations, I call it it's like a modernist doing things, but it's not like a modernist. It's like more like an Asian. You want to have your respect on your disciplines. You break it down until you find it's enough for you and you can stop. And then from the another way, he can put it in the tectonics and materiality to another level as well. So I can feel that he just tried to push it to another level. And by the time, the way that I saw his project is a personal project, residential. And he came along with the owner and the client, and he serviced very well. I think we saw your friend Jimmy, Robert or who I don't quite remember the name, but getting the testimonial from the client is quite amazing to see how the housing itself is kind of a progressed the life of the owner. I think it fits to the request to the owner, and he just tried to follow the owner. I think it's been a pleasure to see the life that you have with your client. Not mentioning all of the, I mean, limitation that you have in your practice. The scale of the projects, the residential project is always quite intimate. I think the intricacy, the intimate, is the permutation, the varieties you can see in his work. It's amazing. It's amazing work that you have, Jimmy. I have to appreciate. Not many people daring to do something like that in your age, in your patience. Many people just have a stagnancy. If they have a money, if they have a status, if they and they try to maintain a status quo. But I can feel from what you see, you have some of the that kind of energy that I think we should learn from. I mean, I just jump it, Suhardi, because I think the time and everything is too limited. I mean, I just have a thing to say. I did not see the presentation fully because it's limitation about the communication, about the noise, about the sound. Sorry, but I can feel the energy. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Suhardi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Rich. Yeah. Well, it's gonna be a point of departure for all of us here after listening to Rich. I think if anybody can continue with developing that thought, that question, or you have another thought or question, please. Anybody? Anybody from the online also, you are very much welcome to type your question, or you want to speak directly through your microphone. Okay, if until what time do we have time?
I think we are already in the
yeah.
closing.
Ya,
Oh, no.
sekarang udah
Okay.
selesai.
So it's actually closing now.
Okay, but I have one burning question.
Oke.
I mean, you were educated in the Western world, let's say Australia, even though it's not West, right? But then you return to Malaysia, to KL, and you work for other practices for a while, and then you set up your own practice. And referring to your passion, your journey in creating tropical architecture, and your courage to stand out among all your peers who are same like you, educated in the West. Can you share us briefly in what particular moment that you are enlightened, that you think that, okay, I have learned architecture from a prestigious institution such as University of New South Wales. You have worked for firms that perhaps are not doing tropical architecture, and suddenly then you found yourself that, okay, this is the type of architecture I want to produce, the tropical architecture. Can you share with us what is that particular moment that gives you such enlightenment that this is my way? It should be rooted in our local values, in our climate, and it is the tropical architecture.
All right. There was no moment. You heard saying you can take the person out of a kampong, but you cannot get the kampong out of that person. Right? So, I think, despite the fact that I was taken out of my kampong, Penang, since transported to Australia, Sydney, never got that Malayanness out of me. I think I've always been a Malayan. I've always been a tropical person, and that's like the Hokkien say, "Pasi bunsi." That's it. Now, the first time we had to design a project when I was at the university was when we were in second year. We had to design a tea kiosk, you know. in the Sydney Botanical Gardens by the Sydney Harbour, which is across the bay from the Sydney Opera House. At that time, the Sydney Opera House was under construction. And the site given to us was a flat site by the water, had a very old Moreton Bay fig tree there, and we had to design a kiosk. And I remember the kiosk I designed was all using timber. I had it raised above the ground, and I had pitched roof, and I had no walls. Then when, after the jury went through, they gave me a big F, fail. So they criticized everything, they criticized the timber, they criticized everything. I thought, shit, this is bad. No money. Then the next term again, I designed something of pitch roof. Again, this time I didn't fail. They gave me Q for questionable. That means cannot live, cannot die. They what they see, they walk. No? Wow. So after that, I told myself, I said, maybe I ought to change my attitude. So I started looking around, all of them flat roof, glass, all this, all that, all whatever. I said, shit, you know, this is terrible, because at that time when I saw the work of Miss Van der Rohe, I hated it. Especially, you know, everyone talk about the Farnsworth house. Oh, bloody, what you call that architecture? I thought it was terrible, but no, that's my opinion. So after that, I say in third year, I've got to pass it. If I don't pass third year, then I'm going to be stuck. So third year, I changed all my design approach, everything flat roof, flat roof. Oh, I got credit in my design. So I said, okay, in that case, from now on, I just do everything flat. I went through, so I graduated. But the moment I came back to Malaysia, the first project I worked on was, in fact, the first few projects were big projects. One of them was the first semiconductor chip factory for Motorola, 1973. You know, the first chip producing. So in that project, I had to go in and just did not do design, just understanding M&E. So I learned all about services and what have you, factory management coordination and all that, producing coordinated drawings, checking engineers. And that's how I knew a lot about engineers drawing. So that from now on, anytime they go outline, I write them. So after that project, I got involved in other bigger projects. And one of the projects in those days was the Indonesian embassy, the Kedutaan in Kuala Lumpur. I was a local architect. At that time, I worked with architect Bubalaras in Jakarta. The chief architect was Suyudi. Later on was taken over by Utomo. So that was another one, the project I was in charge of. And a lot of coordination. In those days, you cannot just email. We draw drawings, pack it, send off by post to Jakarta, and then they send back, you know, every time a big packet of, you know, it was great fun. So then the first house I got an opportunity to was the one you saw just in 1917. That house actually was for my auntie. So they say, so I didn't get any fees for that, I'm a cheapskate. So, but I got a building to show her. So that was my first, and that's when I start to explore. And I should say, maybe that's the start of it. And then the next one is the house on still, you know, 1983 until now, no doubt. So that was really the starting point. So the early years were nothing to do with tropical. There no design at all, just learning the art of architecture, the art of coordinating, art of dealing with engineers, and realize that they're all bullshit.
Well, thank you Chief, for such a passionate response and enlightening for all of us. And so because of time, I think we have to complete our sharing session today. But don't worry. In these last few days, I've been with Jimmy in many places in Medan, and he likes this city very much. And he has promised me that he will come back, and he's an educator as well. He loves to share. So hopefully, in the near future, when Jimmy is here again, we're gonna kidnap him again to share with us. If perhaps here is the right place, coming and organize something like this, and Oma would like to come in and collaborate with us, you are most welcome, Rich and colleagues from Oma Library. So with this, I want to say thank you to Oma Library for providing this online platform. Thank you to all the online participants for your attention and curiosity and questions, and also to all of us here, offline participants and coming space. Thank you to FA Associates, incredibly well done. And thank you to Dario, our friend from Doni, our good friend Doni, and of course from Catalonian Syndicate. I want to say thank you again, Jimmy. Hope to see you around. For another part of Indonesia. Thank you.
Baik, untuk rekan-rekan yang sudah hadir, maka berakhir ya untuk acara kita chit-chat bareng Prof. Jimmy ya. Dan maka untuk itu kita akhiri dulu untuk acara hari ini. Yang untuk online Zoom mungkin bisa di live chat dulu, untuk di live dulu Zoom-nya. Dan kita akan melanjutkan mungkin sesi acara berikutnya untuk di offline. Kita ada coffee break, jadi kita persilakan untuk rekan-rekan yang sudah hadir dan Prof. Jimmy juga langsung bisa kembali seperti ini sudah kita saksikan.
Ya, dan kalau mau bertanya, mau diskusi,
Secara
silakan.
pribadi boleh,
Ya.
boleh.
Ya, sambil mungkin tadi kurang dari tempat TV, jadi kurang semangat, silahkan minum, makan-makan, sambil diskusi dengan Prof. Jimmy. Kita masih ada waktu, masih ada sekitar 4,5 jam, 45 menit ya.
Before we go,
Silakan.
yeah? Before
Ya.
we go to
Ya, sebelum kita ada yang mau ikutan ke apa itu?
ke
Grand Mercure ya?
Archify.
Archify ya?
Aku live ya.
Ya, so that's the